Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to JOECMDRAWZ, welcome back to a new video. Today we're doing something different. I'm going to be doing my very first Pokemon challenge. I'm going to see if I can beat Pokemon Emerald with a single Corphish. Let's get into it. Okay, to kick things off, I'm going to be looking at Corphish's level up moveset, its HM moveset, and its TM list to see what it can learn. Okay, so I'm looking at its level up moveset right now. Got some really good stuff here from like Bubble, Harden to boost up defense, Vice Grip for some good physical damage, Layer to lower defense, and then get some other stuff like Bubble Beam. Protect I probably won't need to use. Knockoff could be quite useful for boss fights that have like berries to heal health. Taunt could be really good for kind of like blocking them from using certain moves. Crab Hammer is going to be the first move that is going to help me for most of the game, I'd say, until I can get something like Surf. Sword Stance is also going to be one of the best moves I can get, because instantly getting +2 attack is going to help so much. And then there's like Guillotine, which I'm not really going to be using because it's so unreliable. Then looking at its HM list, stuff like Cut, I probably won't be using. Surf, definitely. Strength, maybe. Rock Slash, maybe if I really need to. And then there's Waterfall, probably not going to need to use it, but I could if I really want to. And then we're looking at the TM list here. A lot of really good stuff that you didn't really expect Corphish to be able to learn. Stuff like Water Pulse, Toxic is interesting, Hail is also pretty cool, Hidden Power could also come in clutch. Ice Beam definitely for Drake. Blizzard if I really need to. Protect, maybe not. Rain Dance if I really need to boost up the power of water moves. Frustration, probably won't need to use that. Return is definitely a key move that I'll need to use. It's just really good, especially with high friendship. Dig could potentially be really good for like Norman. Brick Break, really good for like ice types. Double Team, probably not want need to use it. Sludge Bomb, really interesting move. Poison move, very good to have. Rock Tomb could be good for flying types. Aerial is really good, can't miss with that one. Facade, probably good. Secret Power, definitely usable. Rest and Attract, nah, won't need to use that. So that's a pretty good selection of moves, from some pretty good normal, dark and water moves to like fighting moves, and then like really weird combinations like poison and ground, and even some flying and rock moves there. So that's the list. So it's a pretty good selection of moves there to use. Okay, first up is Roxanne here. She says her like little speech about what she learned in battle, and we get into the battle. Okay, so I send out Mr. Krabs, and she sends out her first Geodude. Did do a little bit of grinding before this, so I go straight for a bubble. I hit it with a bubble, and it knocks out in one shot. So I'm feeling pretty confident about this battle now. I'm like, yeah, this shouldn't be too hard. We'll get a little bit of experience there. And then she sends out a second Geodude. So I go for the same move again, and just go for another bubble. And that actually is another one shot, and actually a crit, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I'm feeling really good in this gym fight at the moment. I'm like, this will be really easy. Next out comes the big bad nose pass. So I go for a bubble again, thinking it'll do a lot of damage. And not really. It doesn't do as much as I wanted it to. She then hits me with a Rock Tomb, which does a decent chunk of damage. Nothing too bad, but does lower my speed. So now she's going to outspeed me. I go for a Harden here, trying to lessen the damage of the Rock Tomb, just so I don't get taken out so quickly. She then copies me and goes for another Harden. So I go for a bubble here, and she wastes her turn on block, but that doesn't matter. I'm thinking hoping maybe I can get a crit. And take her down into the yellow here. No crit though, but she then activates her Oran Berry, pulling her right back into the green. So I'm right back where I started. So I go for another Harden here, just to try and lessen the damage of the Rock Tomb that I know is going to be coming. And she hits me with a Rock Tomb there. Does a decent chunk of damage, not on the yellow yet, but it lowers my speed again. So I'm not too worried at this point. So I go for another bubble, she outspeeds and hits me with a tackle, but it's not too much damage thanks to the Hardens. I hit it with a bubble, and it does a massive amount of damage, pulling it down into the orange, but she goes for a potion. I can't really do anything else at the moment as I don't want the gym fights to drag on, so I hit her with another bubble. Does a massive amount of damage with a crit, and it takes it right down into the orange. I go for another bubble, but she potions again, bringing her all back into the green. So I just kind of keep hitting her with bubbles, which does a little bit of damage, but I just keep going for it. She then starts going for tackle for some reason, which actually gets a crit. So now I'm a little bit worried that I could actually lose, but I go for another bubble, bringing her right down into the orange, and actually lowering her speed, but that doesn't really matter. I just keep going for bubble. She hits me with a tackle, bringing it down to 12 HP. I smash her with my bubble, which does a really good chunk of damage, bring her all the way down into the red. I then go for another bubble. She outspeeds and hits me with a tackle, pulling me to 8 HP, but I land my last bubble, and that's Nose Pass done, and that's Roxanne finished. That was a pretty fun gym fight. Not as easy as I was expecting it to be, but it was still fun, not too difficult, as I am a water type. But yeah, that's Roxanne done. First gym fight acquired. Okay, next up is Brawley. So yep, he's just telling his little speech about what he's going to do, and the battle begins. Right, he sends out his Machop, and I send out Mr. Krabs. So I go straight for a Bubble Beam here, hitting him pretty hard, as that takes him all the way down into the yellow. He wastes a turn with Bulk Up here, which raises his attack and defense, but I just go straight for another Bubble Beam and take Machop out pretty quickly. That's one down, and we get a little bit of experience there. Next he sends out his Meditate. Now usually Meditate's pretty easy in Emerald runs, but I switch up my strategy here and go for a Vice Grip, but he wastes his turn going for Bulk Up. That raises attack and defense again, but it doesn't really matter. Vice Grip does a good decent chunk, but I go for Bubble Beam as I think it's a lot better, considering that Bulk Up boosts his defense. It would take longer to take him out with physical attacks. So I just go for a Bubble Beam here and take the Meditate out. That's 2 down. Going pretty good so far. And last up is his terrifying Makuhita. Now usually this guy's kind of a problem, but here he's not too bad. I think about going for Leah, but I just end up going for Bubble Beam, which does a pretty good chunk of damage, putting him into the orange, and then he wastes a turn going for Bulk Up. And then his Citrus Berry activates, because in Emerald he has a Citrus Berry, whereas in Ruby and Sapphire he doesn't, and that puts him back into the green. But I'm not too worried, and I go straight for another Bubble Beam. I haven't taken a single point of damage during this boss fight. He then wastes another turn of Bulk Up, but I'm not too scared as I know I can just outspeed him, and I hit him with another Bubble Beam for the win. That was pretty easy, not too bad, didn't take a single point of damage, so I'm pretty stoked about that. And that's Brawley done. That's the second badge acquired. Not too bad. Let's move on. Okay, next up is the Trainer May fight that everyone's scared of. Yep, she says her like little speech for how about to have a little battle, and we get into the battle. So she sends out her Wingle here, and I send out Mr. Krabs. I go straight for a Vice Grip, but she outspeeds and hits me with a wing attack that does minimal damage. I hit back with a Vice Grip that absolutely knocks her out in one shot, so that's good. 1 down, 2 to go. Next up is her terrifying Grovyle. Now I've already lost once to this, but I got straight for a Vice Grip here. But she outspeeds and hits me with Absorb for a massive amount of damage. So I'm getting a little bit scared here, but I push on and I hit it with the Vice Grip. I actually get a crit to take her out in one shot, so that solves that biggest threat out the way. And last up is her slug mode, which really isn't much of an issue, as I just outspeed and hit with a bubble beam for a one shot. And that's me defeated. Time for Watson. So he goes on his little speech about his red doors, and he says he'll electrify me, so we get into the battle. And so I send up Mr. Krabs and he sends out his Voltorb. So I go straight for a Crab Hammer, but he outspeeds me and hits me with a Spark, which is a huge amount of damage. But I hit him with a Crab Hammer for one shot. Next up is his Electrike. So same kind of deal, I just hit him with a Crab Hammer, outspeed and smash him for a one shot. Next up is his scary Magneton. So I go for the same thing again, I go for a Crab Hammer, outspeeding and smashing him for a one shot. Last up is his scary Manectric. So I go again, I pray, I hit a Crab Hammer, he outspeeds and goes for a Howl, which really doesn't do anything. I hit him with that Crab Hammer, doing a huge amount of damage, bring him all the way down to the red. It must be in like 1 HP, but it procs static. But I came prepared with a Cherry Berry, curing the paralysis. His Citrus Berry activates, bringing him back into the orange. And then I go for a prayer, I hit a Crab Hammer, he outspeeds and hits me with a Shockwave. So it's a huge amount of damage, leaving me on 6 HP. But I smash him with a Crab Hammer, knocking Manectric out, giving me the win. So that was my 40th attempt at Watson, and I finally won. So that's Watson done. Let's move on. Now we've got Flannery. So she talks about me being a puny trainer and that she's Flannery and not to underestimate her, and she's got all these skills, but we begin the battle. So she sends out her Numal and I send out Mr. Krabs. So I go for a Crab Hammer straight away here, but I miss my Crab Hammer and she sets up the sun with Sunny Day. So now all my water moves are going to be reduced in power. But I carry on and I hit it with a Crab Hammer, knocking Numal out in one hit. It was actually a crit as well, which is pretty good. That's Numal down. 1 down, 3 to go. Next up is Slugma. The sun's still up there. So I go for a Vice Grip here. It's going to be risky since I could get burned, but I take Slugma out in one shot and don't get burned. Nice. Next up is Camerupt. Now this could be a problem since the sun is still up and overheat is still a massive problem. But I think about going for a Swords Dance or maybe a Vice Grip, but I go for a Crab Hammer, thinking of praying it'll take out in one shot, and it does. That's Camerupt done. And last but not least is Flannery's terrifying Torkoal. Now the thing has killed so many people's runs, so we'll see what happens here. But the sun is still up, so I go for a Crab Hammer. I actually hit it, do a lot of damage. Not quite a one shot, but quite a lot. She then hits me with an Attract, so I'm like, oh god damn it. The sun's up, I've gotten hit by Attract, and now I'm in trouble, but the sun fades. So I pray and I go for another Crab Hammer. Mr. Krabs is in love, but he smashes through, hits her with a Crab Hammer, knocking her out. Flannery, first time win. I was really worried there, especially when I got hit with a Attract, but that wasn't too bad. Let's move on. Okay, next up on the Jimmy Little chopping block is my own father, Norman. Now I have tried this fight 5 times, and this is the winning attempt. So we get into the battle here. I send out Mr. Krabs and he sends out his Spinder. Now at this point I have obtained return, so I go straight for a return and smash his Spinder in one shot. Destroying the Spinder, off to a good start. Next up is his Vigoroth. So I go straight for another return. He outspeeds me and hits me with a slash, doing some decent damage, but I retaliate with a hard hitting return. Knocking Vigoroth out in one shot. That's 2 down, 2 to go. Next up is his Speedy Linoon. Now this guy could be a problem with Belly Drum, but I go straight for a return, but he hits me with a headbutt and actually gets to flinch. So now I'm getting nervous. Then he outspeeds again and goes for a Belly Drum, so I'm like, oh crap. Is he faster? But I get my turn and I hit him with a return. Knocking the Linoon out. That could have been a real problem, but that was taken care of. And last up but not least is the terrifying Slaking, or Slacking depending on how you want to say it. So I go for a Crab Hammer. I do a pretty decent amount of damage to him. He tries to go for counter but it fails because Crab Hammer is special, since our water moves are special. Slicking is loafing around, and I go for another Crab Hammer, doing a huge amount of damage, pushing him right down into the red. But his Citrus Berry activates, bringing up slightly into the orange here. But I think about going for a taunt, and I'm like, but I go for another Crab Hammer. He outspeeds and hits me with a really hard hitting facade, taking me down to 22 HP. But I hit my Crab Hammer, taking Slaking out. That's Norman done. Not too bad. 5 tries to do it. Wasn't too bad. Let's move on. Next up is the second major May fight. So I find her here and she's like, oh, let's see how strong you've gotten, and we start the battle. Okay, so she sends out her Slugma here and I send up Mr. Krabs. Now I do have a distinct advantage because it is raining, so my Crab Hammers are going to be powered up. So I go straight for a Crab Hammer here, but I miss. She then goes for a Harden, which really what matters, considering that Crab Hammer is special. And then the rain continues to fall. So I just go for another Crab Hammer here. I get it and I smash her in the face and I get a one shot. It's 1 down, 2 to go. Next up is her terrifying Grovyle. So I go straight for a return, but she outspeeds me and hits me with a powerful Leaf Blade, taking Mr. Krabs all the way down into orange health at 28 HP, but I hit back with a powerful return, destroying her Grovyle in one hit. That's 2 down, 1 to go. We also leveled up here into level 48. And last up is her Lombre. So same kind of deal, I go straight for a return, but she hits me with a Fake Out, doing minimal damage down to 25 HP, and I flinch, which is kind of annoying but not too bad. And then go again straight for a return, but she outspeeds me, probably with Swift Swim, hits me with Swift, which takes me all the way down to 17 HP, but I hit back with a powerful return, destroying her Lombre in one hit. So that was really close, but that's the next mid fight done. So it wasn't too bad, kind of scary, but not too bad. Let's move on. Okay, next up is Lady Winona. And I have tried this fight a couple of times, but this is my winning attempt, and so we get into the battle. She sends out her Swablu, and I send out Mr. Krabs. So as always, I go straight for a return here. I outspeed the Swablu, smash it and destroy it in one hit. That's 1 down. Next up is her Tropius. So I go straight for another return here, and I outspeed it and hit it for a lot of damage. Not quite a one-shot, but she hits back with a weak aerial ace, which doesn't do much. I then use this opportunity, as I know she's going to heal, to go for a Swords Dance to solidify myself, doing a lot of damage. So I'll boost my attack up by 2, so now I'm definitely going to be destroying this Tropius. So again, I go for another return, I outspeed and hit it with a return for a one-shot. Next up, we have her very annoying Pelipper, which always does protect spam. So I go straight for another Sword Stance, as I know she's going to go for protect on the first turn. And then I also get another Sword Stance to boost up my attack even more. So now I'm at +4 attack with the Silk Scarf, max friendship return. There's no way it's going to live this. And so I click return, and I hit her with return, and I do a huge amount of damage, absolutely destroying her in one hit. Not many left now. So next up we got her Skarmory. Now I was worried about this as it is steel type, and I did think that return would get it, so I hit it with a Crab Hammer for a lot of good damage. Almost taking her out, but she hits me with a very annoying sand attack, which lowers my accuracy. I go for return, but she heals up. I then miss my return, which is very annoying. But I go for it again. Now I don't expect to one-shot her here, but I do have +4 attack, and I actually just destroy in one hit, even though it's not very effective, so that worked out pretty well. And then last up here we have her terrifying Altaria. Now this thing is a bit of a pain, but it outspeeds me and hits me with a Dragon Breath, which does a decent chunk of damage, but then I smash back with a +4 max friendship Silk Scarf boosted return that absolutely destroys her. And that's Winona done. So that wasn't too bad. I really enjoyed that fight. That's Winona done. Let's move on. Next up for the gyms is the annoying duo of Tate and Liza. These guys have been a pain in my ass, but we're going to get into the battle. Now, like I said, these guys have been a pain, and it took me 15 attempts just to get this winning attempt. So they send out their Claydol and Xatu, and I send out Mr. Krabs and my useless Magikarp named Kaido. So I go straight for a return here on the Xatu, and I just use like Splash for Kaido. Xatu outspeeds and use Psychic on the Magikarp to get rid of it, so it's just now a 1-on-2. And I use my return on the Xatu, which hits it and takes it out in one shot. So that big threat is completely out the way. Next they send out their Solrock, and their Claydol hits me with a powerful Earthquake. It does a decent chunk of damage, but it's not too bad. Next I go for a Crab Hammer on Solrock. Now Crab Hammer is really unreliable because it's got 85 accuracy, but I go for it anyway, and it knocks the Solrock out in one shot. So again, that threat is completely done and dealt with. Next up they send out their Lunatone, and here again their Claydol goes for another Earthquake, doing another chunk of damage. I then fire back with another Crab Hammer on the Lunatone. Thankfully it hits, and that knocks out the Lunatone in one shot. There were so many attempts to that just missing, me getting taken out by a Claydol. Claydol again uses another Earthquake, does another chunk of damage, now pushing me down into the lower yellow. I then finally go for a final Crab Hammer, finally hitting the Claydol and knocking it out in one hit. Actually getting a crit to solidify the deal. And that was that fight. Damn, that gym fight was actually painful, but I finally done that. Alright, let's move on. Last but not least, here comes Juan. So we get into the battle here, and I send out Mr. Krabs, and he sends out his Love Disc. Okay, to start things off, I go straight for a Swords Dance, but he actually outspeeds me and goes for an Attract, so already I'm at a disadvantage. This is going to be so annoying. So I'm immobilized now, and Mr. Krabs is in love with Love Disc. And but I managed to pull through it and go for a Swords Dance. So that's good. Then I go for a straight for a turn, but he outspeeds me and tries to hit me with a sweet kiss. He misses. Mr. Krabs is still in love with Love Disc, and he gets immobilized. Okay, pretty annoying. Okay, I'll hit the next turn, right? He tries to go for another sweet kiss, misses again, which is very fortunate, and I'm still in love, and I get immobilized again. God damn it. So I go for another return, and then third time's a charm, he hits a sweet kiss, which now confuses me. But I came prepared for this, and put a Persianberry on Mr. Krabs here, which gets rid of the confusion, thankfully. But I'm still in love with Love Disc, so I try again, and I'm immobilized again. That's 3 times now, so there's nothing I can do. I go for another return, he outspeeds and hits me with a Water Pulse, which does very little damage, but could still confuse me. But, again, I'm in love with Love Disc here, and I get immobilized again. That's 4 times in a row. He then hits me with a Water Pulse for another minimal bit of damage, which isn't doing very much. I'm just worried about the confusion, and I'm still in love here, and I finally hit my return. That's 4 times I got infatuated. Jesus Christ. But I finally able to just delete this stupid annoying Love Disc from the existence and crush it into the ground, and we get a level to level 66 here. Next up, he sends out his Wish Cache. Finally, I'm free from being infatuated, so I won't have to deal with that anymore. So I go straight for a powered up Swords Dance here to boost my attack even more, because I know that Kingdra in the back is going to be a pain. And then he goes for a useless Amnesia here that isn't really going to be doing anything, considering I'm just going to smash him into the ground with another boosted up return. And I do just that. I click return, and I absolutely eviscerate this Wish Cache out of existence. Goodbye. Now we're on a roll. After that just incredibly annoying start, he then sends out his Celio, which isn't really much of a threat, as I just click return and again just delete this blubbery mess from the battlefield. And that's Celio taken care of. Now we're on a roll, boys. Next, he sends out his Crawdaunt, Mr. Krabs' big brother, Crawdaunt. So again, same kind of story. I just go for another return. Outspeed, considering that Crawdaunt is extremely slow, and I just destroy this piece of seafood, even with a crit. So that's pretty good. And I get some more XP there. And finally, the big bad Kingdra. This is the one I've been waiting for. And I go straight for a return here, but he outspeeds me and goes for a double team. So already this is going to get annoying, which is what I was afraid of. And I miss my return. So I just go for another return. He outspeeds and goes for another double team. Again, really annoying now. I might not even be able to hit him as I miss in my other return. But there's nothing else I can do. I just go for another return. He outspeeds and hits me with a Water Pulse. Potential for confusion here. Does a little bit of damage, but thankfully no confusion. And I can finally hit this goddamn annoying Kingdra. Absolutely eviscerating it. Goodbye. And that's one done. Jesus Christ, that was annoying. But finally, all the gyms have been done. Let's move on. Okay, next up on the chopping block is Wally. This is the final Wally fight. So let's get into the battle. Wally sends out his Altaria here, and I send out Mr. Krabs. Now initially here I was going to go for a Swords Dance, but I decide against it and go straight for a return here. He then outspeeds and goes for a Dragon Dance. And then I hit him hard with a return, which does a good chunk of damage. Not quite enough for a one-shot though, so I just go for another return. He just wastes his time going for Safeguard, and then I hit him with a powerful return to take the Altaria out. That's one down. Next up, he's sending out his Magneton. So, I go straight for a Crab Hammer here. And I miss. And then he goes for a Screech, so I'm looking at -2 defense now. Not too bad, not worrying at the moment. So I go for another Crab Hammer here, and I miss again. And then again he goes for another Screech, so I'm sitting at -4 defense now. This is going to be quite bad. But I go for a third Crab Hammer, 3 times the charm, and I smash his Magneton into the ground with a Crab Hammer, taking out in one hit. Next up is his Roselia. Now, it could be a bit of a problem here, but we'll see. So I go straight for a return, I outspeed the Roselia, and I smash it in the face with a powerful return. Knocking out in one hit, not a problem. Next up here is his Delcatty. So, as always, I go for a powerful return here, as his safeguard wears off. And I obliterate his Delcatty with a powerful return. Not even an issue. And last up is his starter Gardevoir. Now this could be a problem, so I go straight for a return as Gardevoir's defense is paper thin and he goes for a Future Sight. I then hit his Gardevoir extremely hard with a powerful return. That leaves it right in the red there. I think, okay, I'll just outspeed and hit it. Nope, he goes for a full restore, bring Gardevoir all the way back up to full health. That's annoying. So I hit him again with a powerful return, hoping for maybe a higher roll this time. But unfortunately, again, it must be on like 1 HP here, and he full stop restores up again. That's annoying. So again, I go for another return here, again hoping to get a knockout with a higher roll or a crit. But again, nope, deep into the red, and Mr. Krabs takes a Future Sight attack, which does a quite sizable chunk actually. But again, go for another return, and he goes for another Future Sight. But this time he's out of healing items, I outspeed and hit him with a powerful return to knock Gardevoir out, and that's Wally done. That was a fun fight. I didn't really have any issues or worry that I would be beaten, but that was fun. Moving on. After ages and ages and ages of trying, I finally get to Elite Four, and these are the winning runs. First up here is Sydney, so let's get into the battle. Okay, so we've got Sydney here, and first he sent out his Mightyena, and I sent out Mr. Krabs. His Intimidate doesn't work because of my Hypercutter ability, and I go straight for the throw and go straight for a Surf here. I do huge amounts of damage, knocking Mightyena out in 1 hit. Next up, he sends out his Cacturn. Same kind of story here. I go straight for an Aerialist, which will do a huge amount of damage. It's super effective, and I just outspeed and take out his Cacturn in 1 hit. Next up here, he sends out his Shiftry. Now at this level, at 85, I'm finally up to outspeed and hit his Shiftry with Aerialist, as he was just always outspeeding me before. But now I can outspeed, hit him with Aerialist, and that's him done. Next up, he sends out his Crawdaunt. But again, not really much of a problem. I just outspeed and hit him with a powerful return, knocking Crawdaunt out in 1 hit. And last but not least here, we have Absol. And same kind of story, I just kind of outspeed him and destroy him with 1 return. Okay, that wasn't bad. I mean, so many attempts, and I finally beat Sydney. Not bad. Let's move on. On the Elite Four chopping block is Phoebe and her terrifying ghost types. Now this was a bit annoying when I was doing it, but I think I'm confident. So let's get into the battle. We start the battle off here, and she sends out her first Dusclops and I send out Mr. Krabs. Now I know she's going for a Protect first turn, so I go for a Swords Dance to counteract that. She protects, and I get my free +2 attack. So with that, I go straight for an Aerialist here, which I know is going to take her out in 1 hit. I do, does massive damage and destroys Dusclops in 1 hit. Next up, she sends out her first Banette here. And same kind of story, I just outspeed, hit her with a Surf and destroy her Banette in 1 hit. Next up here is her second Banette. Same kind of story here, I just go for a Surf, outspeed and destroy her in 1 hit. It feels so satisfying to do this after so many attempts. Next up is her Sableye. And again, same kind of deal, I outspeed, destroy the Sableye in 1 hit with Surf. And last but not least is her last Dusclops. So So again, I outspeed and go for an aerialist this time. I do massive amounts of damage, but I don't quite take it out, and it lives on 1 HP. She hits me with a Shadow Ball and lowers my special defense. Her Citrus Berry then activates, pulling her back into the yellow, but it's already too late. I outspeed and hit her with an aerialist, destroying her Dusclops and beating Phoebe. That wasn't too bad, it wasn't too difficult. Again, let's move on. Okay, next up for the Elite Four here is Galacia and her Ice types. This one was a bit of a tough one in all my other attempts, but this is the winning run. Let's get into it. Okay, so we start the battle off here, and she sends out her first Celio and I send out Mr. Krabs. So I go straight for a return here. I hit her with a turn and do a massive amount of damage, taking the Celio out in 1 hit. No hail for you today, my friend. Next up, she sends out her first Glalie here. Same kind of story here, I just go, click return, outspeed and destroy in 1 hit. Next up here, she sent out a second Celio. Same kind of deal, return, outspeed and destroy in 1 hit. Next up is a second Glalie here. Same kind of story, I just click return and it's a return sweep, baby. And finally here comes the big bad Walrein. Again, I click return here. I do a massive amount of damage, pushing it all the way down to the lower yellow, but she fires back with a powerful Ice Beam, but doesn't really do that much damage. No freezing. Her Citrus Berry then activates, but it's already too late. I outspeed and hit her with another return, destroying Walrein. That was a pretty clean Glacia fight. Not too difficult at all. Very satisfying to destroy her. Okay, let's move on. And finally here we have the last Elite Four member, Drake, and his legendary dragon types. Let's get into the battle. This one was a tough one, even all the way at level 85. So he sends out his Chelgon here, and I send out Mr. Krabs. I go straight for a Swords Dance as I know he's going to protect, so I can get a +2 attack boost. He then goes for another protect for some reason, and I just click return. Obviously he protects, so I don't hit him. So I go for another return, I outspeed and then destroy him in 1 hit. It even ended up being a crit. 1 down. Next up, he sends out his Altaria here. Again, I just click return, outspeed and destroy the Altaria in 1 hit. This used to be a big problem, but not anymore. For some reason here, he sends out his Kingdra. I was sure it would be his Flygon, but I click return, he speeds and hits me with the Surf. It's not very effective, doesn't really matter. I then smash him in the face with a powerful return, knocking the Kingdra out in 1 hit. That was a big threat. Next up, he sends out his Flygon, but Flygon's not much of an issue. He hits me with a powerful Earthquake that leads me into the yellow, and then I hit him back with a really hard return, knocking Flygon out in 1 hit. So I'm looking a little bit worse for wear, but it's not too bad. And now the big threat, Salamence, comes out. Now Intimidate doesn't work because of Hyper Cutter, which is good, so I can keep my +2 attack boosts. And then my Citrus Berry activates. I put it on specifically for this. He then outspeeds me and hits me with a Dragon Claw. No crit, leaving it at 28 HP, and I smash back with a powerful return, knocking Salamence out in 1 hit. Holy crap, that was tough, but I did it, and it was a really fun fight as well. So, only the champion left now. Finally, Pokemon Champion Wallace. Let's get on with it. So I'll start the battle off here, and he sends out his Willard and I send out Mr. Krabs. So I go straight for a return here to see how much damage I would do, and I do quite a lot of damage to Wailord, putting it down into the low yellow here, and he hits back with a powerful double edge. Does a decent chunk of damage, but he's hurting recall. I know he's going to heal, so I go for a Sword Stance to get a +2 attack boost. So now, whenever I hit with some physical attacks like Aerialist, it's going to do major damage and return. And then get my attack boost here. I then hit back with a really powerful return that hits Wailord really, really hard. actually taking Waylord out here. It even ended up being a crit, which is massive help, so now I don't have to waste more time trying to take him out. Next up here is his Ludicolo, but I can just outspeed now and hit him with areas. He would always outspeed me before, and if Waylord got Rain Dance up, that was it, over. I just had to restart. So that's Ludicolo taken down. Very close to level 86 there. Next up is his terrifying Tentacruel, but I just go for a return. He outspeeds and hits me with a powerful Hydro Pump, taking me down, and I hit back with a more powerful return, taking his Tentacruel out. I was just thankful that Hydro Pump wasn't a crit. Next up here is his Milotic here. Now he does outspeed and hits me with Toxic, so now I'm on a timer, but I hit back with a really powerful return to just absolutely one-shot his Milotic. Now I'm on a timer. Now I have to beat him as quickly as possible, and I level up to level 86 there. I think that definitely did save me there. Next he sent out his Wish Cache, but I get hurt by the Toxic there, but I outspeed and hit him with a powerful return to just absolutely one-shot the Wish Cache. So that's Wish Cache done, and there's only his Gyarados left. So I'm really feeling this attempt in this run. Obviously Hyper Cutter blocks the Intimidate, so I get to keep my +2 attack boost, and I get hurt by the poison here. He outspeeds me and tries to hit me with Hyper Beam. He misses, thank God, and I hit him with a return to smash Gyarados out, to destroy him. Holy crap, I beat Champion Wallace. That took forever. And at level 86, I beat Champion Wallace.